durante la Primera Guerra Mundial. Who was a president during World War I? Woodrow Wilson. Esto fue Ciudadanía en un minuto. Este segmento es presentado por la Onda 1190 AM, la radio más informativa.
Estás escuchando KRPH Morristown, Arizona y KNV Phoenix, Arizona.
Mantente informado las 24 horas del día. Síguenos en www.laondaradio.digital.
Spoiler alert, we both live.
Thank God.
So, spoiler alert, we are near to death, but it's that fight.
Yes.
Yes,
right.
it's that fight. It's that boxer that gets knocked down.
This is not tragedy. It's a comeback. It's two people who refused to stay down, who refused to remain quiet, who refused to die. And now you are about to hear their story. So today is very special for me because we are speaking about a book that is called Fight Like Hell. You are going to be learning about what it means, and you are going to be listening from not only from the author, but from the protagonist, which I'm so excited about to be talking about this book. Lorenzo, you are a former lawmaker. I have known you in that world, in the politics world, but this is something else. You call this book a book of love, but is it about love? Is it about a biography, a memoir? What is it?
It is all of those. It is a love story first and foremost. One of the things that we've had the pleasure and the privilege of doing is being able to serve the community in elected office, and not only elected office, but also, through boards. You and I met through ALMA, the Arizona Latino Media Association. So we've been serving for quite a while. And when we were in politics, because it's always we, and I think any politician will tell you that if that politician has a spouse, it is a team effort. And so when we were in politics, we had some very rough challenges as the book goes through. When I was city council in Avondale, Rhonda had late stage breast cancer. And, during that time, Rhonda said, we're going to everything together. I can't not just stop showing up, because everyone,
Public events, you mean?
You're to public events, because everyone's going to say, well, where's Rhonda? Where's Rhonda? And we can't keep it secret. So we decided that we would just, share what we were going through. And so Rhonda kept the community abreast of what was going on through Facebook posts. But that was just the face of what was happening. That was just the, happy couple fighting cancer. The real story, which we talk about in the book, shows the authenticity, the brutality of a late stage breast cancer fight, and just how brave Rhonda was and how strong she was. And basically, when I tell people, when I was in politics, I said, politics is easy. I got my wife through late stage breast cancer.
Oh.
Politics is easy after that.
Oh, anyone listening to you, they know that politics is not easy. It's one of the most difficult things that we're facing right now as a country. But as human beings, right, that is unbelievable that you went through that and you found each other late in life, right? I mean, you have not been married for 50 years, 40 years, 30 years.
Right. So we met in 2010. And as I write in the book, we met in service. We met as a family. Rhonda had Megan with her. I had my two boys with us. And we met packing lunches for kids who don't have enough food on the weekend. So that's how we met. And our first date was at an anti-1070 protest. So we were,
you were meant.
We knew we were meant for each other when our first date was at a protest. So we've been fighting ever since. There's a lot of fights, and I think that's how the term for the book came. And I think we'll talk a little bit more about how the name of the book came about.
And I have known you for a long time, longer than you, right? One of the things that caught my attention in the book, which by the way, I'm almost done, so here we go. So being absolutely honest, wonderful read, easy to read, relatable. One of the things that I did not know is that when you two met, you actually did a background check. And so when I saw that, I thought, oh, okay, so yeah, that's sort of normal, right? If you are serious about someone, you want to know more about that person. But you actually hired a private investigator?
I did. I had
Oh yeah, that's unbelievable to me.
I had lost my husband previously to pancreatic cancer. I was suddenly a single parent raising my daughter, who at the time was halfway through high school. I also was the full-time caregiver and custodian of my late husband's mom, who had late-stage dementia.
Oh, wow.
And I was responsible for all of her care and paying for her care. And this was in the middle of the Great Recession. There was not a lot of life insurance. There wasn't a lot of anything except bills and responsibility.
Wow.
And I had no intention of dating. But when Lorenzo and I met, it seemed like it was going somewhere. And I thought, before I let my heart take over, I need to know who this person is, because I don't have the luxury of making an error.
To me, that's such a powerful message right now, that you need to take care of yourself, right? So what's the message here for men and women and everyone who's looking into a partner very seriously, instead of just, taking your heart, letting it be, being responsible?
So at our age and stage of life, there were a lot of responsibilities at play. There were children that had already gone through traumatic experiences, either divorce or death. They were still minors. They still needed care and provision. There was my late husband's mom, who, she needed round the clock care. And I didn't have the luxury of letting my heart run away with me. And I think there's a lot of people in that position right now. We're raising kids. We're facing the circumstances of life. We have careers. We have, we're the sandwich generation. So we've got kids to take care of and elder parents to take care of. There's not the luxury of just leaving it to chance.
Yeah. Did it feel, Lorenzo? Because I'm not giving away anything from the book, but it's right at the beginning when you found out that she told you that she had done the background check and that you were a mess. I could not stop laughing, but then he said, "Is it serious, right?"
Yeah. So I, obviously, I was a mess at the time. I was newly divorced, and like her, I wasn't looking. I wasn't going to be dating. I wanted to get my life in order, get my finances in order, have a place, have a car, and do all of those things. I had just gotten laid off. I had been divorced. I had 2 boys. And when she confronted me with that, I said, I will own up to that. And this is not where I want to be. Where I want to be is responsible. I want to be able to say that I have savings, that I have insurance, that I have everything that we need to be able to function, as stress-free as possible. You'll never not be minus stress, but I wanted to be able to have a better life, and that's hard work. And growing.
So you were not offended at the beginning?
No, I could see where she was coming from.
Okay.
I could see where she was coming from, and I don't begrudge her, because when you went through what she went through when she lost her husband, when he was diagnosed with cancer, and 18 days later he died, and that she had to not only witness that but live through it and shepherd him and shepherd his story. I knew that where she was coming from. So I understood the place where she was coming from. she wasn't doing it as a gotcha. She was doing it as I need to be sure. And so I showed her that I was going to make those changes. And I did. And, now my kids have a lot of the teachings that I never had about finances, about, making sure that you're taking care of things. They're all in such a much better place than I was at their age.
That's great. You're a great example, both of you. Mm-hmm.
Which is for me, it's like there has been very, very few times where I've had to help them out with anything just because they understood how to take care of themselves. And they got to see me be from a low point to a much better place.
Mm-hmm. There are a lot of struggles depicted in this book. I see it from beginning to end, from meeting you, from saving each other. Would you say that you save each other in that regard? Because, you became a very important legislator, you on your own right. Why did you decide to write this book? And I'm interested in hearing, especially for those young Latinos and Latinas and anyone really who's thinking about writing a book. One, at what point do you decide I need to write a book about my life? And what's the process like?
So I believe everybody has a story worth writing a book for. And it's not the easiest thing to get that done. But I felt we had a very compelling story to tell, and not only was it compelling in and of itself, but when you throw in that we were in the throes of American history, right at the orbit of American history, we were in Washington when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died. I was in Washington the day DACA got implemented.
And DACA meaning the
DACA, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. So all of these things were happening as we're going through these struggles. So not only were we going through these struggles, but American history is happening in it, and we are right next to American history, and we are friends with the people who are in the throes of all of these fights and everything that's happening. So I thought that was, and when you read the book, it's all of these amazing people who've come into our lives. It's the friends that I've had, but then I talk about the just the few minutes that I had with Barry Goldwater that were so just very compelling and very meaningful to me. The time that we had with Bonnie Raitt, the day that Rhonda finishes cancer treatment, Rhonda meets Bonnie Raitt, and Bonnie Raitt's song was the fight song that we had while she was fighting cancer. When I was on a ventilator during COVID, Joe Biden calls her. So all of these historical figures have been in and out of our lives, and we thought that was just a compelling thing.
So let's talk about that. Yes, the COVID, because that wasn't the amazing is not the right word. That was a very scary experience, right? And you were saying that Joe Biden, who was president at the time,
he was
vice president, and he called you.
He was running. He was running for 2020. It was just before the 2020 election.
How was that experience? Because I remember as member of the media, getting that call that our local lawmaker may not make it. That's pretty tough.
It was tough. So we had not intended to travel to Washington, D.C. It was in the middle of COVID. We were in the middle of lockdown, and we took lockdown very seriously. Going to the grocery store became the big highlight of the week. We would put on our gloves. We would double mask. We wore our goggles. We did all the things that at the time they were advising people to do. But cancer treatment had, unfortunately, the steroids that were involved in my treatment killed the blood flow to both hips. And I needed to have both hips replaced. I was barely able to walk at that point. So I had, because of one of my surgeries, I had a pulmonary embolism and a collapsed lung. And from this point on, anytime I go under, I have a much higher risk of complications. And it had been almost a year since I had seen our daughter. She's living in DC. And I said, I'm not going into 2 major surgeries without seeing her. So we did all the things you're supposed to do. And we had our, KN95 masks and our goggles and all of the things. We flew to DC. Ruth Bader Ginsburg passes the afternoon we landed. We're watching history unfold, and we somehow contracted COVID. And everyone was worried about me because I'm the one with the compromised immune system. And I did spend about 18 hours in the hospital, but as it turned out, it was Lorenzo who got sick, and really sick. And thank God for, at the time, he was a co-member of the House of Representatives, Dr. Amish Shah, who is an ER doc in his daytime job. And he had been checking up on us. And he asked Lorenzo to take his pulse oximeter readings.
You were at home at this point,
Yeah,
right?
no, we were still in DC.
We were still in DC.
So he says, get the pulse oximeter. I don't know what it is. So I do it, and I say, it's 78. And I think that's a C+. I think I'm doing okay. He gets quiet, and he goes, I need you to go to the ER now. And you need to be prepared. You're probably going to get put on a ventilator.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know I was that bad. Anything under 90 is bad.
And let's remember that back then, in the midst of COVID, if someone said you're going to be in a ventilator, that's so scary.
So that's when they came in. They told me I was going to be on a ventilator. I kind of knew that was going to happen. And then we had just a few minutes beforehand, before everyone came into my room. And that's when Rhonda and I FaceTimed. And she goes, I need you to make me a promise. She goes, I need you to promise that you're going to fight like hell to come back to me.
Oh.
And I said, I promise I'm going to fight like hell. And I remember just before going under, praying to the Archangel St. Michael, Archangel St. Michael, protect us as we enter battle. And that was, as I was saying, and I was, as I write in the book, I wasn't afraid of dying, because I knew at that time I was going to be asleep, and basically I would just pass peacefully.
I would still be afraid.
I was afraid of not living.
Of not living. Oh, I see.
I had so much to do. And knowing that Rhonda was already a widow, how could I do that to her? How could I do that to her? And all the promises that I've made, how could I leave her as a 2-time widow? And her taking the chance at love again, only to have this happen. But, so I went under, and to her credit, I mean, not only was she still sick, she was still working, but she was doing media interview after media interview. She was on every TV station, and she couldn't not answer the phone. So every time the phone rang, it was first, please, God, don't let it be the call. I don't want it to be the hospital saying that, I'm sorry, we tried everything, but he didn't make it. But more often than not, it was a media call. It was people just calling to check in. She got calls from like Mark Kelly, from Grant Woods gave her a call. Another great Arizonan. All these great political leaders were giving her a call and checking in on her. I remember Rusty Bowers, who was the Speaker of the House at the time, would call every day.
No, I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
And very dear, and he would say, I just want you to know that my wife and I are praying for you. And that just meant so much. But the scary thing was, like the first day in, it was really a coin flip. And they called Rhonda and asked her, well, we have a priest on the floor. We want you to administer last rites.
Mm-hmm.
Are you Catholic?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So I mind you, I'm in a coma, so I'll let her tell that part of it.
So they, back in those days, it was not common, to be able to have anyone in the hospital. So to have a priest on the floor.
Yeah, remember, you have to be isolated.
Yeah. So to have a priest on the floor, it was a big deal. And I thought about it. I called Lorenzo's seatmate, Diego Espinosa, and we talked about it. And they they were known as the Fighting 19. And he said, they don't call us the Fighting 19 for nothing. He said, not yet.
There's a word again, fighting, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
And
I
he
see,
said,
I
"Give it
see,
more
I
time."
see it now. There's the word
Mhm.
fight it's
Mhm.
coming up a lot, right? So was there a moment, was that the COVID moment when you asked him to promise to fight like hell that
Yeah.
the book came out, or is a collection of fights throughout your lives?
It is. It was, from the beginning of our relationship and even before then. And I think that's part of the story when you asked about why did you write this story. The other thing that I wanted to do was tell a Latino story. That right now in America, when we hear about Latinos, it's in a negative sense.
Right.
And all you see are ICE agents tackling people and dehumanizing brown people. And I wanted to show that we Latinos, we're fighters. We work hard. We love our families. We love our communities, and we love our country and fight for our country.
You're a patriot.
We are patriots. And I wanted to make sure that came through in this book, is that regardless of what you're seeing on the news, this is who Latinos are. We are salt of the earth. We fight. We work hard, and we are extraordinary contributors to the American tapestry.
Is that what you meant when you were saying at the beginning that this book is not your story, or your story really is the story of all of us, is the story of us? In your case, I'm assuming the Chicano story as well, which
Yes.
I don't necessarily identify with as a Mexican, right? But I know it is incredibly important to have that reflected in a positive light, right?
Yes.
So talk to me about the process of writing. You are a fantastic writer, I know that. Was that a team effort, or you're writing your own book, which I
am.
can't wait to read it. So what was the process like?
So I started writing it. We had when I was in the House of Representatives, we were we were going to Germany for a trade mission, and I started writing it on a red-eye flight from Chicago to Germany, and then kept writing on the train, and had put together something. And Rhonda had been working with an editor, and so I started working with her. She beat the heck out of it. She said, okay, no. So first you got to reorganize everything. So we worked on it very hard. Rhonda looked at it. But the hard part was having to go through all the medical records. We wanted to be very factual. So we went through the medical records. We went through like the Facebook post. Oh, that's right. That happened on that day. Because I had forgotten that, and I read about it in the book, where she's very stubborn. And she wanted to drive home one day, and she had been on enough medication to knock out a horse. And she goes, I'm gonna drive home. And I go, no, I'm coming, but I'm in Tempe, so I'm trying to get to the West Valley, to the cancer center in Goodyear. And luckily, a friend of mine worked at the cancer center. I said, hey, Rhonda's going to try to drive. I need you to go just stop her. So Rhonda's there, and she's just got her spoon, or what was it?
I was eating a little bit of food because I hadn't eaten after my procedures. So I was eating and fell asleep with the spoon in my hand, head down in the food.
And so, it was just remembering all of those things and the records, and, going through I had to go through the very detailed aspects of the house, so that I knew that if I was talking about something, it was on this day, and here is the public record of it. So it's all documented. There's everything that we have, you can go back to. There's either a news story, or there's some sort of record of everything. And that's what we wanted to do, is make sure that it was as factual.
So would you call that a biography then versus a memoir? Because the way that I understand it is, a memoir is obviously what you recall about your life, or people around you, but a biography is something like that, where you fact check yourself what happened. Is that what you call the book?
Well, and plus,
It's not a novel.
Yeah,
It's not a novel.
sometimes it reads like a novel, is what I've been told. Is sometimes people go, well, that can't have happened. Yes, it happened, and we have the receipts on everything that happened. If you're doubting, how rough her cancer fight was, here's all the medical records. If you're doubting how bad my fight was, here is the study that I was part of, where they had 10 people and they ranked them 1 to 10, 1 being that person's probably going to live, and 10 is that doesn't look good. In that study, I was number 8, meaning doesn't look good for this guy.
The book is also about the healthcare system, which obviously both of you are intimately involved, and not in a good way sometimes, right?
Correct.
So you're very knowledgeable about that. But it's also about public policy. But it seems to me that it's a human part of you that caught my attention the most. What message are you trying to give readers? Or are you not sending any message? It's just, here's my story and it's worth telling.
I think part of it is here's what happened, and being factual about it. But when you look at the story of my mother was a hard worker her whole life.
And she's another protagonist of the book, by the way.
Yes, she is.
And so she, raised us well, raised a bunch of the kids in the neighborhood. And during the recession, childless adults got taken off of access coverage. So she had good job after good job, but that, jobs kept getting downsized or right-sized or offshored. And so near the end of her life, she was just working minimum wage jobs that didn't have any insurance. And because she didn't have any children, they kicked her off of her access plan, her Medicaid plan. Well, she had, pain in her ear, and they thought it was an ear infection. Well, no, you have TMJ. Well, no, it was cancer. And had she had access to good doctors, they would have caught it early, because it was a survivable, curable form of cancer. And part of what hurts for me is this happened to my mom, and she died in a way that she didn't deserve. But what's going to happen now, when you look at what's happening in our country today, and you look at the millions of people that are going to lose their Medicaid coverage, all you have to do is read the story of my mom, which is going to foreshadow the story thousands of people, thousands of Americans are going to go through over the next couple of years. And we're better than that. We, as a country, we are better than that, and we should start acting like it.
That's such an important message here. People looking or listening to us might think that this book is very depressing, but it's not. It's really not. There's so much love and fun stories, important stories as well. What you went through, what you're still going through, comes across obviously at the book with seriousness, as it should. But talk to me about the fun stories. You have a story about your dad that you call him a hero, with no parade, with no medals, nothing of that. I thought that was a fun story. But are there other fun stories that you are telling here in the book?
Even in the throes of cancer, when Rhonda, she had to wear this wig, and she hated the wig, hated the wig. So we thought, we're gonna let's do a couple pictures with the wig. So I got the camera out, and in chapter 10 of the book, there's the picture of her that she let